Next and very important thing is new little startup companies in Ohio today have a hard time raising venture capital money. There are not a lot of venture funds in Ohio for Ohio. And so if you're trying to start a company here in the Athens area, you're being forced to go out to California, you go to Boston, go out in far-reaching areas to raise some capital to help you get this company going. And bottom line, it's 10 times harder. It doesn't have to be that way. We just need to raise some venture capital here so that we can finance your new business startups. And then the fifth thing that we needed to work on was when we're building new industry hubs around the nation, in close proximity to those hubs, these are the center of expertise of this new industry. So if we were doing software patient record management systems, we would probably be doing that in concert with Cleveland State University. And so Cleveland would become the hub of that new industry. And we would have to go in there and build a tech park, a real estate facility with all the amenities of the state-of-the-art of technology needed for a startup company to get launched and get going in an environment that's close to the bigger companies in this space, close to many of the smaller new startup businesses in this space, and a way to attract skilled workers. We need to get to a critical mass of skilled workers. And if we have a hub, it's a contagious environment to attract from out of state and in state the skill base that we need to get that industry off the ground. So if we do all those things, we're well positioned and prepared, I believe, I've witnessed, to build new, great, successful, world-class industries. So that's what we've got to do. Now, I think there's a growing belief. The governor has said that his #1 priority here in Ohio is the economy and jobs. And he has his whole workforce working on this up in Columbus, trying to figure this out. This task force I'm on is a small component of contributing to that. The Third Frontier program is really kind of focused on technology commercialization and what can the government do to foster it. And so he's committed. He's going to do and is doing whatever it is he can to make something different happen. Ohio University has also been working for 4 years now, trying to make a difference, trying to expand our skill set of doing these things that I've talked about. Let's review a few of those. Let me just tell you kind of in real time today what's going on and where are we going next. Well, no, first I'm going to talk a little bit about some new industries in Ohio. The first thing we have to do if we're going to rebuild the Ohio economy is we've got to go out and build some new industries. Industries where Ohio can rise up, be differentiated, establish a major position, and over time become a global leader, like we did in the tire and rubber industry or we did in automobile industry. Those industries are gone, we have to replace them. And it's hoped that the replacing underlying technology that will enable it will come through our universities. So some of the areas that are being contemplated today in Ohio as areas where new industry can be created is, the first one is the cure and the management of diabetes. You may say this is a niche area. It is a niche area, but it's very close to becoming an epidemic disease. It's a multi-billion-dollar market. We're building a huge state-of-the-art research and development area in Dublin, Ohio, around this topic of diabetes. And with a little bit of effort and work, we could become a leader in diabetes and then branch off of that other like immune sicknesses that could also leverage some of what we're doing there and expand us into other diseases and really continue to grow that industry. Another area is the whole area of clean burning coal. Coal today is the #1 fuel source for the generation of electricity for power plants. One problem with it, it emits carbon dioxide, it pollutes the air. If we can burn coal cleanly and erase that issue, coal could become the primary fuel force for electric plants in America for the next 100 years. And there's a lot of work going on at Ohio University to deal with this emissions management. Clean burning coal, algae work, there's a number of things going on that are promising. And this could be a huge industry. There's some oil and gas reserves over in eastern Ohio. The Marcellus shale rock reserves and the Utica reserves. There's sufficient oil under the ground that if we can get to it, could fulfill the needs of this nation for, I believe, 800 years. We could solve many of Ohio's problems by just tapping into that oil and gas. Now there's some problems. The fracturing way they do it, they put water, huge amounts of water, force it down into the ground to break that shale rock to open up the reserves, the reservoirs of oil and gas so they can escape. Sometimes they escape straight up, and sometimes they escape up and spread out, and thus pollute neighboring communities, and that's not a good deal. They cause earthquakes. So wonderful natural resources right there. We can get them, but we got some technology, we got some work to do it safely, out of harm's way, with a good, clean environment. And I think we'll get there. And when we do, there's a tremendous wealth of opportunity sitting there. We're also working in some, I'll call them centers of expertise in software. Up in the Cleveland area, we're doing software for medical applications. And a lot of people, a lot of work going on to try to be a real named force in this industry. I think down here in southeast Ohio, we're doing some software creative work, kind of what we have here in the Grid Lab, in digital media, in multiplayer online gaming. This is another very large business industry and growing quickly. And the work that I see here and the graduates I see leaving and their ability to make a contribution in some of these companies out here today, I mean, we have some really skilled, talented students with know-how. And so we need to exploit that. And maybe our corridor from here to Ohio State, which is basically the same size as the Silicon Valley. We got 2 universities, Berkeley and Stanford, and 50 miles. Here we have Ohio State and Ohio University and 50 miles of open land. So let's try to figure out how do we develop this corridor to become another tech center focusing on some areas of technology innovation and turn it into a world leader in providing goods and services to satisfy the customers out there. And I think this area could be part of what drives that, this whole area of of game theory and game for professional teaching, and the game technology is expanding quickly and becoming very technical, and therefore the using audience is growing quickly. So there's an opportunities there, I believe. New industry could be in stem cell therapy, about a Cleveland clinic. It could be fuel cell technology coming out of Ohio University. It could be polymer chemistry, the synthetic rubber up in the Akron-Canton area. There are plenty of new creative ideas on industries that we could pursue and win here in Ohio if we really put some concentrated efforts, develop some student skills around that industry, educated some adults willing to be trained to go to work in a new, more high-tech industry, and if we can entice and encourage skilled workers in these industries from out of state to come into state, we can build a critical mass and we can go win in some of these different industries that we're going to go after. My goal is to identify 10 industries across the state, different fields, energy, medicine, computer science, agricultural areas, and turn at least half of these into real, viable, growing industries that will create many jobs, long-term professional jobs, generate tax dollars, and basically rebuild the economy. Doing this will be fun. Doing this will be what I happened to have the opportunity to do 40 years ago when I got to California. It's exciting, it's neat, and I think Ohio is willing today to give more help, financial help and other forms of help to these new entrepreneurial startup businesses than California ever did. We've got a lot more going for us here. We can talk about that here in a second. So Ohio is doing its part. We're working hard to try to push the envelope of creativity forward in preparing our students and our research labs to do commercial quality, worthy research work that we can then take out and build a business around. I'll give you some examples of the work that's going on here. It's amazing at the rate at which it's caught on and growing.